When we see massive physical size, heavy weaponry, or sheer numbers, we instinctively recognize it as power. We are hardwired to assume that the larger, heavier opponent holds all the cards. But the Panchatantra suggests a different reality. These ancient Sanskrit palm leaf manuscripts are often categorized as children's fables, yet they function as a rigorous guide to strategic maneuvers and asymmetric conflict. These stories examine how an underdog can dismantle a superior force. They suggest that the physical landscape is secondary to the psychological one. Take the scenario of the apex predator. This lion didn't just hunt for survival, he slaughtered every creature he encountered, regardless of his hunger. He transformed the entire ecosystem into a landscape of constant, irrational fear. To stop the total collapse of their population, the animals proposed a grim economic trade. They would deliver one animal to the lion's den every day. It was a brutal tax, but it guaranteed the survival of the majority. Eventually, the lot fell to a young rabbit. He was small, physically defenseless, and lacked any means of traditional combat. While the other animals mourned his certain death, the rabbit remained unnervingly calm. He promised his mother that this was the last day the lion would ever hunt. Survival in this environment required something other than strength. It required a perfectly executed defensive strategy designed to exploit the lion's own nature. The rabbit's plan operated in 3 phases: delay, deceive, and destroy. Each step targeted the lion's internal state. In the first phase, using time as a weapon, he intentionally arrived hours late, forcing the lion to sit in his hunger. As the hours passed, the predator's mental state shifted from calculated confidence to blind, starving rage. By the time they finally met, the lion had lost his edge. He was no longer thinking like a hunter. He was reacting entirely to physical discomfort. Next came the deception. The rabbit claimed he was delayed by another lion, one who was supposedly larger and more powerful than the current king of the forest. This targeted the lion's massive territorial ego. The perceived threat of a rival caused him to forget his hunger entirely. He was now focused solely on protecting his status. Before the rabbit got within striking distance, he had successfully replaced the lion's reason with impulse. He used a fabricated threat to hijack the predator's decision-making process. For the final phase, the rabbit led the infuriated lion to a deep stone well. He stood back, letting the lion's own aggression take the lead. The lion leaned over the edge of the well. In the dark water, his own reflection loomed back at him. He let out a massive roar to intimidate this new rival. The acoustic echo from the well made his own voice sound even louder and more hostile. To the lion, the reflection and the noise confirmed that he was facing an immediate, equal opponent who was refusing to back down. The trap worked because the lion's physical power was now completely divorced from his logic. He was entirely primed for his own self-destruction. The lion lunged into the well to destroy his enemy. He plummeted into the water and drowned, unable to escape the narrow walls. There's a specific irony here. The lion's massive physical weight, the source of his dominance on land, became the weight that pulled him under. When brute force is paired with an unmanaged ego, it creates a fatal vulnerability. The stronger the force, the more dangerous that opening becomes. The rabbit won because he recognized that physical strength is useless if the mind behind it can be manipulated into its own destruction. We face modern versions of this lion constantly. It could be an overwhelming workload, an aggressive professional rival, or a crisis that feels far too large to manage through traditional means. Matching force with force is rarely the most effective path. Lasting power comes from maintaining emotional regulation, while the opposition acts on impulse. The most effective defense against any massive threat is a mind that remains strategic, clear, and quiet.